to the Improv. Summon is always. I'm your host Spencer. With me today, I have a very special guest, and I always say that. Someone told me I shouldn't keep saying that, so I'm going to do it. But I'm going to up it, give myself a challenge by taking the first letter of the person's first name and adding an adjective in front of it. So without repeating, let's see if I can do it. Today I have with me Mystical Mike. What up, Mike?
Hey, I knew what you wanted to say.
Yeah.
Magic Mike, but you've already done that, I assume.
I actually had a magical Mikey like recently, so I was like, I can't also do magic.
I used to do that in like class, like when you would do like improv warm-ups, like the first day of class. They're like, say your name with an adjective, and then the movie came out, and I'm like, well, now I can't do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. I always do the same one, and then one time someone took my word, and I literally was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do now? Someone took super, and I was like, well, that's unfortunate. And someone took like my action once. It was when we did that improv class. Someone took my action, and I was like, I don't know what to do now.
Was it the one at work?
Yeah. I was like, what do I do? That's my action. Someone took it. So I was like, this. It's so weird.
I feel like most actions in that are like this, or like, ah.
Yeah, it's a lot of like, that's what I want to do next, is just like a high five myself kind of situation. But yeah, it's always the like Superman pose. That's the one I always pick. And when someone does it, sometimes I'm like, I'm still gonna do it. But it doesn't always happen. Anyway, let's talk about...
I think you're overthinking it, though. I think nobody in any improv is like, wait a minute, I had something to that motion.
Overthinking in improv? What are you talking about? I don't ever do that. I never overthink in improv. Anyway, key here, if you can't figure out my sarcasm, I always overthink in improv. And that's the reason why I'm very much, if we talk about it, I've talked about this before, where you have your people that are doing the scene, and then you have people in the back who are getting ready to jump in and tag out someone. Found out when you're on stage doing the scene, it's almost like you're on the bench when it comes to basketball, but on the back, you're like actually playing. You have to kind of jump in, and I was
the back line is like, you should be helping. Like,
yeah.
I feel like more times than not, I guess that's where I'll get heady.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if I'm in a scene, it's fine. But if I'm in the back line, I'm like, what can I be doing?
And it's so funny because what I've discovered is like literally with basketball, with that analogy, for some reason, sports analogies really help me in improv. I don't know why. But what's interesting is like that analogy when I went, oh, I'm very much a backline person because my brain is always just constantly, I'm very much a left brain analytical person than I am that right side. And so I've had it where people are like, you gotta come out and like do a scene. I'm like, just pull me, literally grab me by the hand and pull me out, because I'm so focused on how I can bring things back, or how I can do a callback, or how I can like jump into another scene, or like, oh, if we do this, oh, I could do this. Like, I'm so focused on that or finding that button that I don't even think about jumping out and doing a scene. So I've told people, I'm like, just literally grab me by the hand and pull me out on stage.
Sometimes it's
and
fun
I will do a scene.
It's fun to kind of watch that person, like who's staying on the back line, just to see what they're gonna do. Yeah. Sometimes I've seen like the most brilliant shit come from just a person. Can I curse on this? I don't know.
This is my rule on this show. People have probably heard it already. I won't say anything, but I don't care what you do.
I don't curse that often, but I've already.
I won't censor it.
No, like if I'm watching like a Herald or something, and there's like three two-person scenes, there's like two people that are staying back there. I'm like, I want to see what that guy does, because sometimes they'll chip in like the home run of the whole like 20-minute show. Yep. I'm like, oh, that guy, he said three things the whole time, but like that's the guy I remember.
Yeah, you remember like those three. It's just again because like with improv, it's
and there's also like people like. There's more aggressive people on every team. Like, you'll see like, the first person to come out will always be the first person to come out for every scene. So it's like you're almost like, oh, I'm just gonna let him get his thing in because before I do.
And that's what frustrates me about improv auditions all the time. I'll go to improv auditions and I'm like, okay, what's about a team sport? So I'll get in and do like a little supporting thing here, supporting thing there. I'll initiate something. I'll respond. And then I never get cast, and it's like, you had to get out there more. And I'm like, but I don't want to like steamroll.
Yeah.
Also, I've had a teacher once, one of my favorite teachers, she said to me, at one point, she said something about steamrolling, and I was like, she's like, yeah, there. I was like, I just don't want to steamroll. She's like, I love you so much. You will never be a steamroller if you tried. And I was like, what? She's like, you just never will be a steamroller. Trust me. Jump out, do as much as you can, and even if you're in every scene, you will not be a steamroller. And I was like, but she's like, you will not be a steamroller. Don't even like try. So I was like, that's what I know, is that I'm not a steamroller.
That's fair.
Even if I'm in every scene, which is fine. I know. I also think that one thing, like the analytical brain always helps, because it makes me go, oh, I feel like oh, this person hasn't gone out much. This person hasn't gone out. They're going to go. Let me let them jump out and do a scene. And I can kind of analyze that, like the trajectory of how the show is going.
That's like really deep into thought. That's like fourth level. Like,
but the funniest thing is like, I can do all of that. And then you get back, like if you call me back for a scene and you say something, you want me to react some way, I will forget who I was in this scene. I'll be like, who was I? But like, if you're like, remember you're the guy that really hates movies. And I'll be like, oh yes, I hate them. Like if you
somebody else sets you up.
Well,
but that's what the team's all about. Like they'll remind you if you're standing there, like they're setting you up for the line or whatever, and then you're not saying it. They're like they'll help you. That's what I like about the back line will help you, or the front line will help you.
Oh yeah, it's just funny because it's like I know like my strengths. I know my weaknesses in improv, and I have a duo partner who knows my weaknesses and will always push them, and knows I will do them. As much as I hate doing dialects, I will do them every time.
Every time, well,
he makes me do a dialect.
Yeah. Well, that's the most fun thing to watch. People who know each other so well, they'll just pimp each other out to do stuff they know they don't like to do, and you can see it in in your face probably every time.
I've also learned that he's like not good with like sometimes like getting the right word. And so I'll be like, oh, interesting that you say that because I was thinking more like this. But you know what? We'll do what you said because that makes more sense for this. Or the fact that I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't think of the word. And I'll be like, it's like the thing when like you do the thing where it's like, like that, no, that, no, that, no. The point is, and it's my Capricorn brain coming out because I know as one of my toxic traits as a Capricorn is, I have a hard time like explaining something to someone, and if I feel like they're not getting it, I don't blame them. I blame myself for not giving them. I'm like, there's something I'm doing is the reason why you're not getting it.
Yeah,
and that always makes me go, never mind, it's not important. And so I think that's like a thing.
Yeah, I feel like one of the challenges in like real life sometimes is saying things concisely. I feel like sometimes I'll ramble on, like something that could be a one sentence answer. I'll give like an essay to the point where I'm like talking in circles trying to get out of it instead of being like, you want to go to this store, it's the best. I go there. Instead I'm like, it was Thursday. I'm not even trying to tell a story. I'm like, last Thursday. I'm like, what am I talking about? I'll lose my train of thought more than I should.
I will too. I'm very much a rambler, and I think that I do that a lot where I'm looking at a scene and someone's like giving me something. They'll say something, and I'm like, I'm going to try and get something that's interesting. So they'll be like, all right, the dishes are over here on the right. I'll be like, oh, cool. I love that the dishes are on the right. That's really awesome because like also what's really cool is like you're leaving, but like I'm going to stay here in this house and like stick because the dishes are over here on the right-hand side. And what's really cool is like eventually I'll get to something and I'll be like, and yes, the potatoes are here. And then it's like, what? But then what is beautiful about that is that could be my character. It's like just me starting to like kind of ramble into just like something. Mm-hmm. Also, I have like ADHD and ADD, so like that's
that's pretty much I have ADHD and ADD, but I find like I'm always working or trying to work on like value of what's the term? Like putting more value in saying less in scenes because sometimes like only a few words can move the scene forward way better than like longer, but that's a weakness of mine too. So like sometimes I'll just
100%. All right, so we've been like really diving into this, but let's talk about you. Let's go back a little bit to the beginning, Mike. Let's talk about you and your improv experience. Whatever you want to talk about what is your improv experience?
I mean, I've been doing like improv since like high school and like all that theater stuff, like where you'd be like doing like quick scenes, quick games. We had like an improv club at one point, which sounds like the nerdiest thing ever. But it was like there was like a club day at school where you would go in like an hour before the classes started and everybody could do a club. That was just the most fun. It was 8 a.m, but it's still like the most energy driven, like making people laugh and everybody's making each other laugh. And then you go into your day in a good mood.
Oh yeah.
And it was also just fun to be able to just riff and play and make shit up out of nowhere. So that was fun. That's probably where I started doing it. I was doing stuff in college. I had a couple of troops and whatnot. Started doing more long form when I moved to LA. Mm-hmm. UCB, Groundlings, more short form, more character-y, but never been on a house team at UCB, but there's a couple of years where I was going there like every night to study and watch people. Yeah. I did more sketch stuff there, but as far as improv goes, there's a time where I had like 6 or 7 indie teams going, and like we'd be doing shows like 4
I can barely handle one. How do you do 6?
Like, it's just because like you gotta send out the emails, and then like you gotta wait. Like back then, you had to wait like 3 or 4 months. I don't know if it's as popular as it used to be. You just had submit, and then like 3 or 4 months later, your team would have like a run of shows for 2 weeks, and you're like,
that's true.
So I always wanted to have something in the pipes. If like one group was doing like a show one week, I wanted to have something else in the other weeks. And it would be like the same shows. I would just go to the different shows with the different teams, and you'd see the same people mixing and matching, just getting in reps. But yeah, those like all those like old school shows. I don't know why I call them old school. They were like, what, 10 or 11 years ago.
I mean, that's still, at this point, it's old school.
Yeah, where they basically they would have like just like a cooler of like Tecate beers or something, and it was like illegal for them to charge, but they're like $2 donation suggested.
Yeah.
And then you basically have, I think, like 8 teams going up with like an intermission in the middle and then a jam at the end, which turned into like Steamroller Central, where like one person was just like...
Oh, yeah. I've seen those. I've worked those. I worked UCB. I was work study. And my night was Wednesday nights, which had cage match that started at 11 p.m.
Oh yeah, that was great.
But didn't start till really midnight.
Well, that show didn't start till like 11:40 because like the host would just do like a 30-minute monologue out of breath. Harrison would just run around the stage, get himself pumped up, and he'd be out of breath, and he would talk and just say whatever came to his mind. And then the show would start like 11:45. Yeah, that show would end like 1 because they knew they were the last show of the night.
But then the jam had a lot of like that jam because they had a little tiny jam at the
end. That's when they were counting the votes.
When they were counting the votes, it was so short that everyone just kind of like went in and
But sometimes you could tell it was close if like they just weren't cutting it off. It's like, what are they recounting this shit?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, that's a great show though.
It was a great show.
Good energy. I don't think they do that anymore.
I don't know. At least not there because that location's not there anymore.
No, it is. The one that...
Oh, Franklin's there. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the one that they used to do cage match
Sunset's
the original.
That's right.
Yeah, the one next to the birds.
Franklin is still there, but I know they're doing a lot of stuff at Silver Lake now, but I don't know if that's just a classroom or
I believe... Well, what they used to do before they had the student center, they had just various theaters around like Silver Lake, Hollywood, and every time you get a class, you would get assigned to like one of those.
Yeah.
And you'd like wind up like exploring all these like little cool niche small theaters. Like, wow, this is cool. There's like one on Melrose, there was one in Silver Lake. And like every time you'd be in a different space and you're like, this is a nice little practice space. And then they got the school, it felt more like fluorescent lighting. But that's what they had in New York. I did a couple classes in New York. And I think they were copying the New York formula. It's cool to have everything in one location, but it was also kind of fun to just drive around that first day to try to find where the hell this class is, and you get there and you're like, oh, this is kind of nice. I've never been in this part of town.
I really loved Sunset for the fact that I could take the train there.
You know what I hated? I couldn't park there.
So I
it was like so annoying. I got to the point where like if I was late for class, I would just take an Uber there because like you could do the valet parking there, which is basically the price of an Uber anyway.
Right.
Or you could like try to park in the Target lot.
But that's if the valet wasn't full, because oftentimes the valet would be full, so then you couldn't park there. But I did a lot of with Franklin. What stressed me out was that there was like nowhere to, like I couldn't take the train there because it was too far. But there's really nowhere to park except for
there's so much places to park there. Like I knew like 5 streets where
I went like 2 neighborhoods over.
Yeah, that's what you would do.
And, like that's what I did. But like 2 a.m. leaving to like go to my car at night was just
but in Franklin Village. It's not like 2 a.m. like downtown.
But there was like a bobcat or something like roaming around at one point.
Was that the one that they just killed? The one that was like famous.
I don't think it was that
P2 or what was it? How do you get a name like that? Like, is it like your father,
like
P1?
Panther 2, yeah.
It was a mountain lion, right?
Yeah, mountain lion. Aren't they all the same? Bobcat, Panther, mountain lion? Are they
I don't know. If I see one of them, I just slowly walk in the other direction.
Here on the Improv Summit, Big Cat Edition.
Have you ever seen a skunk in like the last 10 years in LA?
I haven't, but you know what I saw recently? And it terrified me, was a possum. At night, I had no idea how terrifying they look at night.
They're creepy.
They're like eyes. It saw me and it was across the way and it like ran. I was like, please don't come near me. And then I made this mistake of I posted on TikTok like a toxic trait series. One of my toxic traits was I literally was like, is it me that literally looks at poisonous deadly animals right before I go to bed and then expect to sleep? And one of them was
Isn't a possum poisonous?
No.
Okay. I was like, what will I know? I've been petting them this whole time.
No, but possums can carry rabies. But the thing that freaked me out the most was bats. Bats, basically, if you get touched by a bat, you're basically considered to have rabies, so you have to like get it figured out. But then I was like, what does a bat look like? And their faces are terrifying.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea what a bat actually looked like, and I've been in caves.
You've
before.
Never seen the zoo,
I've never. Well, I've been like I grew up in Florida, so Mariana Caverns I went to, and so we'd go inside the cave and explore. So they were always like bats, but like they always like sleep during the day, so I would never see
look
them.
up like a Getty image photo of a bat online. You see the close up. It's like this like little rat weasel face with like all this fuzz. Like it's like a 12-year-old trying to grow a beard. It's crazy.
It's so terrifying.
Yeah, they're...
And so then I went to bed thinking like, how do they get in? And it's like they just did a little tiny crack to get in your house. And I'm like, oh, don't. I was like, why am I looking this up? Then I looked up like deep sea creatures who are poisonous, who like like they have enough poison to like kill a human if you accidentally step on them. And I was like, this is why I don't go in the ocean.
This is your brain.
This is why I'm terrified of the ocean. This is why I have submechanophobia. This is why I have fear of like if you go into the water and you can't see what's under it, that freaks me out. So I don't like go into the. I don't like pools are fine because I can see the pool. The deep end of the pool kind of stresses me out. But we live our life. But oceans are a different thing. Lakes, I don't know what's in that lake. It could be an alligator. Who knows? I don't like that stuff, so I do that. But, you know, I let that lived experience turn into improv scenes. Whether they're good or not, they turn into
nice,
improv
bring
scenes.
back around. We're doing like the marsupial episode of the show. Yeah, let's bring it back.
The Improv Summit Animal Edition. It's okay. People have heard the same questions over and over. Well,
you got two people with ADD on a podcast. It's going to go on tangents. Feel free to cut whatever you want, but I say leave it in.
I'm not cutting
What else
anything.
you're going to hear? Bat talk.
This is all natural. I'm keeping it all. We're not cutting anything. But bringing it back to the improv scene.
Yes.
It's also funny because oftentimes I'll tell like a guest on the show, I'm like, so my audience has heard this every single time because I tell the guest this story because the guest has never heard the story, but the audience has. So on camera, I will say the same story over and over and over. Feel like you'll be fine. Just fast forward through it. I gotta get better at those little titles. I think like the titles, YouTube automatically does them for me and they're never right. But I need to go back and maybe be like, bat talk. But I won't because I can't watch these. It's too much.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah.
Anyways, that being said, bringing it back to the old improv, you know, we already talked about how like I always forget everything I do in an improv scene. But every now and then there's a moment that something clicks for me in improv. And this is the story I'm just going to tell you now. Everyone knows the story. I did an audition once for an improv show. And I went 3 times audition. I got a call back the first 2 times. Got a call back the 3rd time. Never booked it until the 3rd time. Finally booked it the 3rd time. The world imploded due to the pandemic. So I never really did the show. I did 1 performance. But that show, we had auditions at the callback. We did Foursquare. Which is one of those scenic games, one of those scenic short form games, and I'm not good at scenic games. I know that that's not my strength. So I was like, what is my strength? My strength is to just like react facially and not like say words. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a big bold choice. So the suggestion we got was, I think it was like lawyer or something like that. And I was like, well, I could, you know, put on a suit and tie and be a lawyer with a briefcase, but I was like, I really don't care. And I just went, laid on the ground, and went, ugh. That's all I just started flailing my arms. And my scene partner comes over and she literally says, sir, I know this is exhausting, but we do have 1 more client we have to get through today. And, you know, and I was like, no, just 5 more minutes. It was like me just complaining about all these. And like, it was so funny. I heard the director laughing, got cast, and I realized it's because I just didn't care.
Well, that's the best thing. Like, if you go out there and make a choice like that, don't like, you got to run it. Improv's all about making a choice without a net. Like, that's the best part of it. Like, you can do something like that, and somebody will come in and make the scene funny or for it, and then you keep going.
Right.
Like, sometimes, like, if you do things the normal way, it's going to take longer to... If you just start with an emotion, I find if you start a scene with an emotion, whether it's, like, you're scared or, like, you're tired and you want to go home or, like, you're sad, then they teach that, I think, a lot of times. Like, if you start with an emotional choice that's big, like, the scene will usually get to where it's going quicker.
Right. Oh, yeah. And it's also funny because it's like... I keep saying like I forget everything in improv except for like that one audition, that one callback. I remember so well, and so I'm gonna ask you that question. It's a bit of a thinker in a way. Are there any scenes that you remember doing? They can be 2-person scenes or group scenes or like watching or performing in that you're like, I remember this and I'm not gonna forget it because of X, Y, or Z. Or Z for my British
thing about how my mind works is because I do so much improv and I do so much stand-up, I just try to like wash my brain after a performance. Obviously, we'll talk about it, what we can improve on for like a team, but like I don't let stuff linger too much because like there's been so many scenes over the years. Yeah. I do remember like there was like a really weird form we used to do that was like so hit or miss. Like I had a team, we used to do a loose tracer. Have you ever done that format?
I've not.
Tracer is very strict. Like the whole thing takes place over the same 4 minutes, but it's in like different locations.
The one I hated
was
JTS Brown.
Yeah. So we used to try. We got really cocky and we tried to do that. Half the times we did that, it was so good. Like it looked like we were like professional. It looked like we could have been like on house team doing that for him. Then the other half, we messed it up so bad. It was like painful, and we could once you commit to that, amateurs? It's very hard to bring it back. Yeah. But basically, it'd be like. You'd find out justifications later on. Like, you get the first 3 minutes, like, a character opens the door, like, do you have any bodies? Closes it. Later on, you find out why he's saying that. like another scene leads up to that line, but they all kind of trace on top of each other, kind of forming like this Venn diagram where like the middle is they're all happening at the same time.
Oh yeah.
We would do it a little looser, like we do it over like the course of like a day as opposed to like over the course of like 3 minutes. Like the same things are happening at reasonably the same time.
Sure.
And we would still go back in time to justify crap. But like, you know, that was that I remember doing that more than I remember some of the other stuff, because when we hit that, it was the most fun pocket of just sitting in no matter what we said,
100%.
As long as we were committed and we were just doing callbacks to what had already happened, building the new scene forward. It just like people couldn't breathe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But then when we messed it up, it was like, look at these guys.
Oh yeah. And it
was like 50-50. Like that's actually a pretty good percentage for that form. I think we just had a good teammates.
Oh yeah. That's always helpful when you have teammates who are very supportive and and also know like what your strengths and what your weaknesses are per individual, and can kind of guide to that.
That's the best part of doing like a thing with a team. Like you really know how each other functions. So like it's not cheating. It's just knowing your teammates. Like knowing this guy's really good at doing this kind of character. Let me set him up, not like in a forced way.
Sure.
Just in a way where it's like, if you know a character is gonna come out and be like super crazy frenetic energy for like a quick scene or a quick aside, you point out who you want, who you know is gonna bring it.
Oh, for sure. Let's see. Like, have you ever done like a scene where it's like you go in, one person knows what's happening, the other person doesn't, and you try and figure out, and you try to like justify the decisions throughout?
Mm-hmm. That happens a lot. I feel like in improv.
Yeah.
I feel like
sometimes unintentionally.
Well, I feel like that happens a lot when you do an opening to get ideas from in long form. Like you do like any kind of opening for like 2 minutes, and then they initiate vaguely. Sure. Like, you know, it's like you don't know what they're pulling. Like if something like really specific comes up, that
they're like, here we are.
Yeah. So it's like, what did you find interesting from that opening like series of monologues?
Yeah.
Like they were talking about like a time like a monkey almost scratched off a person's face, and you opened with ow. You gotta be a little more specific.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or
I mean, actually, that would be. I would know what that meant as a partner, but like something more like vague, like, "Oh, what are you doing, Dad?" Like you don't know what that's from. It's just like, and also starting with a question.
Yeah. Or like when people are like, "I'll initiate this," or they're like, "You can initiate." I'm like, "Great, I'll start initiating," and then I'll start like doing something. And then I'll get ready to talk, and they're like, and then they start doing something else and start talking. I'm like, so you wanted to initiate? You didn't want me to initiate? Like that's fine.
I have more. But
now that I'm like cleaning my glasses, now I've got to.
I have more fun in like sometimes when I just like decide like, hey, I'm not gonna initiate for this whole show. I was initiating a lot last week. Let me just sit back and just be in the scenes. Yeah. I have more fun doing that. Less pressure. Makes funnier choices, better choices, more confident.
When you do that, you're like, I'll make an initiation, and someone else just like steamrolls over you. You just keep your thing going. You're like, look, you're at this bar where you're getting married.
Well, like once they steamroll your initiation, it's their initiation now. Like you can't like no end them. Like no, this is a zoo.
I had someone once tell me that. I remember one time I was doing it. It was like during an audition for an improv scene. I did something about like wow, this place is incredible. And then I was like, space is awesome. They're like, no, we're in a bus right now. And I was like, but what if we take this bus to space?
That's just justifying. That's like you're in the future. You have to say something like, yeah, ever since they started doing bus routes through space, I'm getting to work way quicker. But then all of a sudden, like now everybody has their thing in there, and nobody in the audience is like, they're contradicting each other. It's like,
but they were like, no, we're on a bus right now. We're not in space, is what they said.
But you can be on. Oh, they literally said no, we're not in space. I was like, it's more fun when you accidentally wind up in a bus in space and try to justify why.
I think what I did was I was like, you know what, you're right. But I was just imagining how cool it would be if we were in space right now. Like I was like, it's so weird to just.
But then that becomes a scene about like, wouldn't it be cool if we were doing this scene?
Right.
So you might as well just be doing that scene.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You're on a bus in space. Nobody knows what's coming next. Go with it. That's so fun.
Right.
That's what I.
Yeah, and then it's like you can easily turn that into like. You know, it'd be cool if we were in space, but you know what else would be cool is like if we went here, but let's figure out which one we're gonna do for our honeymoon, for our vacation, for our field trip, whatever it is. It's like, okay, for this field trip, we're gonna go here. And like that makes it so cool in that way because you can turn it back into something that's more actively happening versus like it could be, this could be, what should we do? Yeah. What are we doing right now? That's what we want to see is in the present moment. Speaking of in the present, we're here in the present. My segues are
you know my stance on segues.
My segue.
Fuck them.
But pitches and plugs. Do you have anything you want to share? Anything that you want to pitch or plug?
I mean, I do a stand-up show that I run 2 times a month at the Haha. And I'm not the kind of person.
And you've got some good guests too.
Oh yeah, we've had some good guests.
Like really, like legit, like.
Well, I've been running that show for like 12 years, but like over the back, we've had like every Wayans brother.
Oh yeah, I was like, because you just had Kroll, right?
That was not my show.
Oh, that was your show, but you were on that show.
On that show. I mean,
this guy's got a lot going on. Definitely check out some of the comedy shows.
No, but the one I run, and I was gonna give the website, then I realized I don't really know most websites I go to these days. I just go to Google and type in what I'm looking for.
100%.
So just go to Google, type in "Ha Ha Comedy Club." It's in North Hollywood.
I'll also link the website in the description.
4712 Lancashire, 2 Mondays a month.
It's the one with the cat, right? The weird, the face. It's like a purple,
it's got
like
a big face creeping
thing.
out over the.
It's like right at the corner of that weird like Lancashire.
It's right next to a CVS. It's right down.
It's like that Lancashire.
It's in the NoHo Arts District.
But it's like, isn't it like right around that like weird three-way intersection of like?
Oh yes,
Lancashire.
It's right by one of the
worst
lights
Magnolia
in Hollywood,
and
where you can go left, slightly more left, or full left.
And
you never know which
right,
one.
Slightly right, straight across.
It's like 6. It's like a flower of but yeah, it's on Lancashire Boulevard. That's what I'm plugging because I've been doing that show for 12 years, and I know there's going to be 2 every month. So come to that. You'll find the dates online. Usually at the first and third Monday of the month. But I'm on stage like 4 or 5 nights a week for stand-up. So just hit me up or follow me at Mike Citera on Instagram, and you'll see.
It'll also be down in the description, so you can just.
But yeah, I'm not really. I'm always got to be plugging in this town, but like I'm not like there's nothing like special. I can be like this specific date. Here's what we have, and we're like just come to one. Just come see. I'll get if you mention the show and message me, I'll get you into something for free.
See right here, you heard it right here. Trying to get our audience in, our small but mighty audience in to these things. So message Mike, let him know. Cool. So thanks so much for joining me here. I have one more question for you, Mike, which is the reason kind of why the Improv Summit exists. And that's a lot of times when I did improv, or as I still do improv, but when I was taking a lot of classes at different locations, people would come to me and say, Spencer, you do a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And I was always like, well, I mean, what do you want to do with improv? So I could kind of guide them more. But if someone came up to you and just asked you, where should I take improv? What would be one piece of advice you'd give to that person to give them guidance on their improv journey?
I mean, if somebody said that, I'm loyal to the 2 schools that I rep, UCB and Groundlings, but they both do different stuff. So like if you're coming from like a big like on-stage theater background where you like to play really big and you like to start big, probably start off at the Groundlings and get your improv base there. But if you like patterns and cerebral stuff, it's good to have both of them under your belt so you can be doing patterns in a character. Mm-hmm. But those are the 2 places I'd recommend. Even just, but if you're taking like a 101 class, I would take the UCB one. Kind of blends all improv. I would just take one UCB class, the very first one. And if you don't have the time of your life, don't do improv. I remember it's so fun in those beginning classes, and there's people from all over the place. So the further on you get, it's like all the same improvers. Like you could like walk in and see like 12 people in a room. You're like, that's probably an improv class. Yeah. But at the beginning, it's people from all over the place because like it's the first class. You got like a 50-year-old like rocket scientist was in a class once. So you're a real rocket scientist?
I've had rocket scientists in class.
And then there's been like a grandma who's like, I just want to go back to my youth. And then
the actors who have to take it for an improv, for a resume
or like their agent was like, you got to take one of these classes so you can put it on your resume. Yeah. And then there's like the people that you could tell are going to go far at improv or they want to do a lot with it. Oh yeah. And those are the people that you like become friends with and like do teams with and stuff. I don't know how it is since the pandemic because I haven't been doing as much indie improv as I used to. Sure. I'm kind of missing it though.
It's starting to come back. There's
it's like slow waves.
Yeah, and like in smaller places. I was gonna say that's great. I would recommend iOS.
It's closed. Isn't it closed?
Sure did.
In Chicago too, right?
It closed. Yeah. iOS closed.
I was a fan of IO, but I thought it was very parallel track to UCB, so I never crossed over. I thought they were doing the same in a good way. But
I did IO first, so I have like a special place in my heart for it. I think is why. But yeah, I think IO West closed in like 2018. Like it closed like well before pandemic, and then. IO Chicago came right after that because beer gardens were important to have. So you spend the money on a beer garden, you don't have the money for an improv school.
Well, IO
more people, I guess, spend money on beer.
I remember IO West led to one of the best indie shows because like a lot of the indie shows used to be in one of the IO stages, and then a car crashed into the bar. So then they started an indie show called Crash Bar, and that was a great one. TNT was another good one. Like I don't know if they still do those specific shows because like. Those were like core. The people that were running them were so passionate about those shows that you would think if they handed it off, it wouldn't have the same
Yeah, they probably still run stuff, but they probably just like different like teamings of different people doing different shows. Well, again, thanks so much for joining us here on the Improv Summit. I did say that was the last question I had for you, but as always on this show, I am pulling a Paul Giamatti. I'm a big fat liar. I also got really distracted by this piece of skin that I just pulled off my hand. Just full reference.
Getting the full,
you're getting the full ADD ADHD experience right here. 3D. But that question, I did lie. So I do have another question for you, and that question is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
Yeah, let's do some improv. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Yes, and let's do it. All right, we're gonna do some improv. Mike, what I need from you is the answer to this question. Do you want a location, a relationship, or a word?
Location.
All right, there's 2 locations. You can tell which one you want. The options are the 50s suburbs or a bank vault.
Oh, both good choices. Let's go with bank vault.
Great. All right. Bank vault. Thank you. Thank you. Feel like this is it.
Oh, this is it.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Like we've been waiting our whole career for this. This is the big take. This is the vacation money.
That's it for sure.
I mean, are you gonna miss it? I'm gonna miss it. If we take all this money, I feel like I'm gonna miss it.
I feel like there's nothing in there anymore.
Well,
because then we have nothing else to do, you know?
If we take the money, we finally defeated the banks.
Like literally the banks.
And then there's nothing left for us to take.
It's not fun anymore.
So like, will we take like a little bit of it, or like leave a note, or we'll come back for the rest later?
We could take half.
We could take half. We could also just not take it.
Oh, I like that idea.
Because like that gets us like another year. We get the crew back together. We'll do another
plan. Make it a challenge.
Because like I'm gonna miss Little Davy and the Fist. Like they're not gonna come over after we have the money. Crocodile is the best. Like if we don't have Crocodile in our lives, what are we gonna do? So like I say we put it on ice and we do it again next year, same time.
Yeah, we bring it down to
because like I'll be honest,
like 30 degrees.
Yeah, I mostly care about the planning. I'm not even about the money. Like I could take or leave the money. I just like being part of something. And
that's why you're so good with the volunteering stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
you work at the school with the kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, the kids
at the homeless shelter and at the old people.
The old people soup place. Yeah.
And the retirement.
The retirement home. Like, I do a lot of volunteering. But like.
And that just shows what kind of a heart you have. You don't even want to take that money. You just want to.
I don't want to take the money. Even though all of those foundations could use the money, I feel like this is more about me needing a purpose. Like, I mean, I need to have a purpose. So who am I?
Yeah, I think you found it too.
I think
you found your purpose.
I feel like I just want to help.
It's helping yourself.
I don't even help others. I don't even really think I want to help the others. I think I just like the process of it. Like, I like the meetings about how we can help the others.
So that you can possibly help others.
Yeah.
But then you just end up helping yourself.
You're like the money guy. Like, you go through money fast.
I do. I probably use all this up in like 30 minutes.
This is all 25 billion?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of bonds in here.
It's a lot. A lot of Teslas, a lot of buying businesses that never go anywhere.
Yeah.
You buy Twitter for like several billion, and then that's just...
You bought Quiznos, and now that's gone? You're really bad at managing businesses.
Yeah, well, I also bought Miami Subs once.
That's still a thing, or no? Not because of you.
It's definitely gone. It's definitely gone. It's now a Zaxby's.
It's a Zaxby's.
Zaxby's. All the Miami Subs became Zaxby's. You know, Zaxby's bought them out. So they kind of paid me, and then I spent all that money.
Okay, well, we got 30 seconds to get out of the vault. Do we got to decide yes or no?
Yeah.
No, right? We're gonna go.
I think we just leave it. Okay. I think we try it again later.
Okay. They won't even know we were here.
Yeah, I think. Well, wait. Oh. I mean, they won't even know we're here. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so you want to get the Zaxby's? You're gonna buy the Zaxby's?
At least the Canes or something.
All right. Well, as long as you don't take all the money and we can do this again, I'm in.
You're making me feel guilty.
No! Don't put back all the money. Get one Zaxby's.
Well, this $1 million. Will it work?
To open a Zaxby's in this economy? Get another Snacks.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host Spencer. That's Mike. See you next time. Bye.